welcome back to my channel. So today I have the honour of welcoming Luigi Newton. Is that right? Pronounce that right?
Yes, that's right. Thank you, mate.
No worries. Property entrepreneur and based in Nottingham and investing in Nottingham. So today we're going to cover a few different topics, but really dive into what you do, Luigi, how you do it, why you do it, and some long-term goals. So really, we're just going to dive straight into it, find out a little bit more about you, and yeah, and get into some good questions. So really interested to hear what you're doing, what you're up to. So just to start it off, for those of you on my channel and perhaps might come across this video, is who are you? Just that 30,000 foot view of what you do in a summary, and then we get into it.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that, mate. Basically, what I do is I'm a property developer from Nottingham, England. 26 years old. Been doing property development for about 4 years, and it's a real passion for myself. It's really changed my life around, and it's allowed me to kind of leave my 9-to-5 job, which was a big milestone for myself. But it wasn't like an overnight thing. This did take me like, 3.5 years of working in that job, doing property alongside it, to then leave. And now I'm obviously doing it full time. I've been full time for about a year and a half. And ever since I've gone full time, things have just been growing and growing, and more opportunities, more doors have opened. So yeah, I do the BRRRR method. Everyone say the BRRRR method, the BRRR strategy, the buy, refurbish, refinance, rent. That's kind of my favorite method, but I do other things as well. But that is kind of my preferred go-to when I'm doing property deals. So I'm not really into rent to rent. I'm more into purchasing. I do some joint ventures as well. And yeah, currently got 4 properties, mix of multi-lets and HMOs. And then I'm currently buying 3 more at the moment. 2 of them are JVs and 1 of them is my own personal project. Should get the keys for it in hopefully 2 weeks time. Solicitors are taking absolute beep at the moment. But yeah, that's me.
Awesome. So obviously we're connected on social media. Love what you're doing. Great content. So one thing I always like to understand is, so how did you get started into property, and why property? And also, which we're going to touch on in a minute, is the importance of, I don't think people talk about it enough, or I think people want to dive straight into property instead of what you just explained about running it alongside, being sensible about actually putting in extra hours alongside a full-time job. Too many people want to jump in. But just to ask, to start with, what was it about why property, basically?
Yeah, so what happened was, when I was growing up, my mum, she didn't brag to me, but she always used to say to me, she bought her house for £80,000 like 25 years ago. And then she got it revalued a few years ago for around 350K, and she didn't do much work to it at all. So the capital growth, what she's got from that property, was just crazy. So that's what did inspire me, to be honest with you. But she was always kind of throwing it in my face, like, look, this is what happened with my house. So yeah, that kind of made me think when I was growing up. And then also, I knew somebody who's actually a friend of my dad, that basically from when he was young, always kept on buying properties and properties. And basically my dad just explained to me that, that's what he did, and that's how he became so wealthy. And we used to sometimes visit his house, and I'd see the mansion that he lived in, the car he drove, the kind of lifestyle that he lived. I could tell that this guy is living the life. And I was so I saw that, and I think that was very helpful. So that's what made me think, to be honest with you. And I used to ask my dad, like, Dad, how come what happens here? Like, does everyone do this? And he's like, no, son. He used to try and get me to get involved and start buying up houses, but I never really went for it. But I wish I did. So that's kind of put it in me, like, okay, well, this guy's made it, and this is the capital growth you can get. So that's what triggered it. And then from then it was a case of, when I get into something, I really get into it. So yeah. I've always kind of been on different ventures and tried everything under the sun. you know, from importing stuff from China to school, selling stuff, you know, selling electronics in school, memory cards, memory chips, New Era hats, the Dr. Dre beats that they used to sell, all types of stuff like that. But nothing ever took off big time. But I'd always put my all into it. So with the properties thing, I was 21, but I was around 20 when I started really studying it. And then I waited about a year of studying. I had 1 year of studying before I bought the first one, because obviously I was saving up, etc. So I was 21, just turning 22 when I got the first one. And yeah, that's how it started. Yeah.
You had the vision. It's funny because your story of how you had the vision of, like, you know, what it could offer is very similar, because I'm 28, and I sort of started around the 20 mark when I was 20. And it's funny you say that, because it was very similar about the education, realizing you know, have you got to do that to get that? And it was kind of that wake up call. And like you said, even from a young age, I think it's funny. There's like early signs, like you said, you were selling at school and doing stuff like that. And I was doing similar things. And I don't know where you were looking in China in regards to buying and selling, but mine was Alibaba, my first sort of, And it's really funny because you can align and relate. So that's cool, because I did very similar things. So that's awesome. So with the property now, one thing that is obviously like a common topic at the moment is in regards to no money down deals. So for people that might be watching this thinking, well, property is an avenue that I want to get into, but there is a lot of fluff, there is a lot of videos out there. But the reality is, I've got my own views on it, but I'm very interested to hear what you think. What's the reality of a no money down deal? Does it exist? What's your opinion on that?
All right. So I do think that it's kind of promoted to new people that this is the way to go forward and this is the best way to get into property. But I think it's very, very, very difficult to attain that type of deal if you're starting out and you're brand new. So I would say to people, if they're starting out, if they want to work with investors, I'd say do it on a small scale. Because one thing you don't want to do is work with anyone's money and mess up. So I'd say start very, very small if you're working with investors. I know a lot of people would say, don't work with investors on your first deal. It's got to be all your money and just your money. But the reality of it is some people won't be able to save up 15K. It's going to be extremely hard for some people to do that. So I'm just being honest. I think you can work with investors on your first project, but do it on a small scale. And then once you've done some deals and you have someone that wants to fund the whole deal and you can structure it where it makes sense for you both and it's a win-win, then yeah, I think you can potentially do that. But it's definitely not a strategy which you need to be focusing on your first one.
Yeah.
My opinion, I don't know, you know.
I agree. I think if you're going to do it, it's got to be on a small scale, as in you've got to be putting in the majority, or if you raise it from family or friends and then use a small portion of it. I think, yeah, it's about being, you just said it, it's about being sensible and also making sure it is a win-win. I think the win-win needs to come before the claim of no money down, because the no money down actually might not be, it's tough because, like you say, on your first deal with no track record, to get someone to put in the full amount and a deal to actually work and all the boxes to be ticked, I think is very, very rare. I haven't seen it yet. So it's very interesting to see what you said. So that's cool. No, I'm kind of on the same wavelength there. So for people starting out in property, obviously you're in your 20s as well, a young entrepreneur as well. What top tips from you learning as well? I'm big on my education. It sounds like you dived into your education and you fully committed as well. And that's one thing, anyone watching this video, I think you need to realize whatever you're doing, it needs to be 100% commitment. You can't be half-hearted. I really believe that. But what top tips from what you've learned, and that's some of the ups and downs, what are your top tips to get into property and be able to stick with it and be successful?
So I'd say that my top tips are, number one, studying. I always say this to any new person that reaches out to me and inquires. Basically, I say study. That's number one. YouTube, books. I try and put lots of content out there. I know you do as well. I study people like Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, Elon Musk as well. That's on a more bigger mindset type of thing that I'm always studying them to kind of see what they're doing, see how they think, and try and pick up tips from them. And then obviously you've got the likes of Justin Wilkins, Sad Hussein. So these are all people that I'd say study on YouTube as well, because everyone's got YouTube nowadays. There's always content on YouTube. And me, I'm a visual learner, so I'd say for someone like myself, I'm dyslexic, and I've always struggled with reading books. So for me, it was either a case of audio books, YouTube, and some reading as well. But obviously, as I said, I do struggle with it. So for me, it was more of a visual learning type of situation. So I'd say, yeah, podcasts as well. I know they're great. So yeah, just really study as much as you can. That's number one tip. Tip number two, I would say, is don't be afraid to speak to people, network, get yourself out there. Don't be shy. If you're a shy type of person, you need to really wake yourself up, splash some cold water in your face, and get out there and get speaking to people. That's it. You know, I think property is a very person-centered game where it's one of those where you're going to need to speak to people, network, build relationships. You know, even when you're buying off a landlord, direct to landlord, which is something that you should look into. If you're looking to purchase properties, that's massive, you know, and I think people skills definitely comes into play. So just practice your people skills, get out there, conversate, make friends with developers if you can, try and make friends with the property people. You can go to networking events. I've always found networking events not been the best place for me to connections and stuff. But for a lot of people, that might be one of the main places they can go to meet people. So go there. Third tip, I'd say save your money. Save up your money. Try and maximize your income as much as you can. So if you've got a side hustle, a side business, you know, that's producing income, then try and just look at ways to increase that income so you can then invest it into property. So through, if you're working a 9-to-5 job, I'd say definitely get yourself a job if you haven't. If you have a business, or both, ideally both, you know, you're working your job and you're doing your side business, build up the capital. And I think if you've got around 15K, 16,000 pounds, you could do a residential purchase. And then you've got different strategies you can go down. You can do it up potentially over time, take your time to do it up, get it refinanced, pull some money out, get some more, or could do it up and sell it if the deal makes sense. But I'd just say save up money, try and increase your income so you can buy properties basically.
Yeah, those are great tips, and actually tips I would probably align with as well. And the big one I would say, saving. I've actually got a friend who wants to jump into property, but again, the first thing I said, you need to save. Or I think what is overlooked is where people want to use whatever money they've got and think that's enough, and it's never enough. I think the way that people also need to vision this is if you're not earning enough and you can't save enough, you need to create another income stream. So although property, people who get really enthusiastic about property, I always try and say, that's great, hold that sort of like fire in your belly, but also get passionate about creating cash flow, because cash flow will make you save quicker, and then you can look to work. And not only that, everyone wants a bit of skin in the game. So if you are going to work with an investor, the more money you can inject into a project, the better leverage you're going to have. So great tips, love it. So what does a typical day in the life of Luigi look like as a property entrepreneur? What does it entail now?
Yeah, so right now it's a bit different because I don't have any projects on right now. I've literally finished my last one a month ago and I'm waiting on the keys for my next. So for me, it's a bit annoying because I love to have a project, and it's annoying when I don't have a set of keys and I'm just literally, you know, working on my. So yeah, obviously I don't like to sell properties. Any deals I do, I like to keep hold of the property long term. So I'm looking, all the deals I'm doing, I'm looking to keep the properties, you know, for 30, 40, 50 years. That's my thinking and what I'm doing. So yeah, for me, the day to day though, right now is waking up, nice and early, do a workout, looking for deals, sending off emails, trying to close some deals with direct landlord people. And yeah, the days are just different every day. And I'm making lots of content. I just went to Mexico for a business trip. So I've just got back. And yeah, right now, oh yeah, also the day-to-day stuff in terms of the portfolio is liaising with the letting agents. If anything goes wrong, they'll just message me and I'll just basically say, yep, send them out.
Yeah.
That's pretty boring, but I think the main thing is going on lots of viewings, look lots of property deals, analyzing deals, speaking with my business partners, my joint venture partners, trying to find the best deal for them where they're happy with. But it's one of those where I'll just present the deals and I'll be like, listen, this is what I think about it. This is the numbers, this is the location. Here's either the link. If it's on the open market, I'll send them the link and I'll basically say, but it's down to you. If you wish to go ahead, my job is to present you these deals.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's cool. And what I was going to say, when you're working with investors, where have you had most success when working with investors? Has it come through the visualization from Instagram where you're promoting what you're doing, or have you had to go and prospect? And obviously you can't go to networking events, but it's something I'm really interested in, to always find out these different methods of how people are building these relationships. How have you gone about sort of securing yourself your investors? Where's it come from?
Yeah, so for myself, I think the main thing has been putting myself out there on social media, on YouTube especially, because I've literally had people reach out to me. I've had multi-millionaire investors reach out to me. They've literally found me on YouTube. So I've had people with 200,000, upwards. I've not managed to work with a multi-million pound investor just yet, or JV partner, but that's definitely one of my goals. And it's something that I would really love to do, just because it would kind of eliminate the stress of finding the funding for these really good deals. Because a lot of them have like 3 good ones, and sometimes I have to pass one of them on for a sourcing fee, but I would ideally like to do all of them within one JV. So yeah, that's kind of, sorry, what was the question, mate? I've gone a bit of a
where you've actually sourced them from, where the sources have come from. But you said YouTube's been one of your biggest successes.
Yeah, YouTube, getting myself out there, referrals as well. So when you're working with a smaller investor, when it goes well, which you should do, because you shouldn't be borrowing anyone's money unless you're very, 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 very confident in the deal itself and you've done your research, you've done the hours and hours of due diligence on the deal before you ever even consider borrowing an investor's money on a fixed return basis, especially. So yeah, just from referrals. So say if I've worked with someone, they've referred me on to one of their friends, and then I've ended up working with their friend too. Something like that.
That's the power of referrals. That's something that's worked for me, like hands down, all the time. It's something that I think one thing that you said, honestly, when it happens, is I always say this to someone, especially if I ever introduce someone to a family office, is that you've just said it with a multi-millionaire, is that when you get a multi-millionaire and you build a real good relationship and they've got really deep pockets, the bonus is you never need to go anywhere else. And that's the power of relationships. So that's awesome. And I'm sure you're going to hit that target. So the ups and downs, I know one of the things that really gets to people is the falling through of deals. So anyone that might be watching this video thinking, I want to get started, that feeling of where you know that you need to learn more, but you're so excited that you want to get started. When you do get started and you start putting progress in place and a deal falls through, I now know, I'm sure you know, that you just brush it off and you get back on the horse and you start going again. But that first 1, 2, 3 times a deal falls, you just want to pack it in, right? You're just like, you know what, I'm sick of this, nothing's working. How did you learn to overcome the downs of deals falling through?
I'm still learning on how to deal with it, because it is something that we do have to prepare for. Luckily, it's never happened. You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. When I was in Mexico, I got one of my joint venture partners reached out to me and basically said, Luigi, I'm not going to go ahead. And we was on the week of completion. So bear in mind, I put 6 months graft into this deal. And obviously everyone has their own situations. But I did learn a valuable lesson. Make sure you take a big commitment fee if you are doing a joint venture. I'd say a big commitment fee. I'd say around £3,000-4,000, but don't use that towards the fees. So now what I learned from that is I took a commitment fee from that JV partner, but I actually used that £3,000 towards solicitors' fees, valuation fees, etc., etc. So there only was £1,000 left in the pot. And I've put so much work into that particular person and finding the right deal for them. So much time was invested, all for £1,000. So 6 months work. So it was I kind of changed my strategy now, and I'm thinking, right, any commitment fee I'm taking, I'm not using that towards fees. I'm using it towards refurb. So if they do pull out last minute or whatever happens, then I've still got something to show for my work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree with that. I think the commitment fees, I think that's, if you're putting work in, this is something that I try and tell people, if you need to, I think people really need to understand the value of their time. Whether it's going to view properties, there needs to be a return on investment for me, for everything. I do believe in giving back and not necessarily charging for everything you do, because I give a lot of free stuff. But like you said, you also need to make sure you don't come away and go, well, bugger me, I just wasted like 6 weeks work, like for nothing, or nothing to show for it. So I really agree with that.
And I know this sounds harsh, but it's one of those where when I started out, I would meet everybody. I would go out there, someone would reach out to me and I'd go and meet them for coffee, whatever, sit down and speak. But it's got to that point now where I can't do that because of the time aspect of it. And energy as well. You know, energy and time are so precious. So for me, if someone's very serious and they can prove that they are serious, then yeah, I will definitely meet them and we can speak. But I think phone calls right now are just fine because obviously we're in the pandemic. So, you know, jump on a call with someone, see what they're all about, conversate, and just go from there. So, but I definitely less coffee meetings are going down.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have several people that have said in the past, let's meet up for a coffee. And I actually had one guy come down from London who said, I'm coming down to see you, you know, let's have a coffee. And I thought, okay, well, he's coming down from London, I'm going to entertain it. And we just spoke about nothing. And then he went back up to London. It was weird. It was almost, you come away going, you've just traveled from London. So I'm on the same page. I don't waste time with coffee meetings unless I actually understand the purpose of it. So awesome. So just going into different areas, I know that on social media you're very active and you've just put out there that you've done this sort of Bitcoin investment, but in regards to your other ventures at the moment, what else is Luigi involved in? Alternative investments? Where else, apart from property, do you like to put a bit of money into?
Okay, so I'll be completely honest with you. I love property, right? So that's been my main thing, trying to build this portfolio, trying to keep pushing and get as much property as I can. Obviously, particular assets, high cash flowing assets is what I want. And that's what I'm shooting for and buying, be it myself or with JV partners or investors. But I think for myself, my next step is going to be gold coins. So basically, I've done the properties. I did a little bit of Bitcoin and different coins I've purchased. I made a video about it on my YouTube channel, but it was just for an experiment because I understand it's a bit of a gamble. Now, people may disagree on me. People may disagree with me on this and say, well, you know, cryptocurrencies is the next thing, but that's all speculative. There's nothing to prove that. So I think it is a bit of a gamble. So that's why I only put in very small, and I only put in £2,000. And so far I've made about £100 gain on it. So yeah, but it went right down, it's picked back up. But I'm in for Rune, VET, and Bitcoin. But I think the next step will be gold coins, like physical gold coins.
Yeah, and I think because obviously I'm big on my gold. You know, you might have seen that, but gold coins is a good avenue, especially as if we ever did have a complete catastrophe with currency, is gold coins actually they wouldn't want you to have. They wouldn't want you to have gold coins because it can be transferred. It can be easy, rather than a gold bar. It can be easily exchanged coins, and that's something that they wouldn't want in the system. So you can get your coins now. The thing is with Bitcoin and gold, I mean, we could go off absolutely for ages of this, but it's a hedge, so it has to be dead money. So that £2,000 that you put in is dead money. And just a quick one is, I joined a clubhouse recently, and some of these crypto Bitcoin rooms are quite aggressive. Like, if you don't agree with them or you have a different opinion, my God, you're getting shot down. So it's a little bit of a it's a bit of a funny one as well, because just a final point on that is all these Bitcoin investors that are posting about the skyrocketing gains that they've made. No one's drawing down, like no one's earning off of it. It's just a chart showing gains. It's like my stock market, my stock market shows me gains. I'm not earning from it. So it's a bit of a funny one, but yeah, it's got to be dead money. And the same for gold. It's an insurance policy. So that's cool. That's awesome. I've seen that you've been doing that. Finally, just to wrap it up, what are your long-term plans? Where does it end? Or perhaps does it not end? But what's the portfolio look like for you? What would you be happy with to achieve?
Okay, so first, I just want to say I'm excited to interview you for my channel. So if anyone's watching this, head over to my channel and watch the video with myself and Aaron. We'll definitely get into it because I want to hear about the gold thing, especially. But yeah, the portfolio for me, the goal, kind of not the end goal, because I believe it doesn't ever end for me. I'm not thinking about the end and stopping. I just want to carry on because I enjoy it. But for me, I'm thinking just keep growing this portfolio, this property portfolio in particular. Try and get as many high cash flowing assets as possible. In Nottingham, I'm really just focused in Nottingham. I think when something's working, don't break the mold. And as they say, don't wake up a sleeping dog. That's kind of what I was sticking by. If it's working, then keep doing it. So I'm going to literally just keep doing what I'm doing. And I'm looking to work with bigger joint venture partners. If anyone's out there listening, hit me up. I'm just joking, but
no, that's cool.
But yeah, I'm looking to just team up with people and just win-win situations, and really build a large portfolio of high cash flowing properties. Awesome.
Well, I'm sure also in the very near future, Luigi, I might know people that also will want to work with you as well. So that's cool. Well, it's been awesome to have you on my channel, and everyone, do, as Luigi said, jump onto Luigi's channel, subscribe to both of our channels, hit the like button so we can share this video, and young entrepreneurs who are coming through can have a bit of reality what Luigi has shared with us today. Luigi, I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you for joining me on my channel, and I'm sure we'll collaborate when this lockdown is over and we can actually meet face to face, perhaps join up in London, and we get a good bit of content going. So until the next video, I'll speak to all of you very soon. Cheers.